Hey, it's Keith Stone again, the optimistic quadriplegic. I want to continue my story of the accident. So when we left off, I was going into surgery, and the doctor had laid out some pretty dire consequences about what could happen. Um, Miracle number 2 is I woke up and I was in a hospital bed. I did have a ventilator, so I could not talk or communicate, but Sarah was at my side when I woke up, and just to see her face was the best thing ever. And you'll have to get her opinion on what she was thinking, but I think she was relieved, and I think she was very, very happy that I was alive, obviously. One of the things that I first noticed was obviously all these wires and tubes. The picture of me on the cover of the YouTube there, that's right after I woke up. I'm sorry, before I woke up. So you can see all the wires and the tubes and stuff that's going into me, and that's a pretty ugly picture. And maybe an ugly picture still today, but I don't have all those tubes coming in me. So the thing I noticed, I'm at this hospital in Petoskey, and I'm in ICU, and I look to my right, and there is a huge picture window, and Petoskey is right on the water of a bay. It's called Bay Harbor, and it leads into Lake Michigan. And if this was a Hilton, this would be like a $500 a night room. It was beautiful. The water, this was August, so the summer in northern Michigan, you can't beat it. And then just to see that view every day was helpful. Helped me with my optimism. But I talked about not wanting to live on a vent. Now here I was with a vent on. There was a little miscommunication. My surgery was Sunday night. I woke up late Monday, and Dr. Colin had already, I found out later, had already called. He had to go out of town, so he had called the nursing station and said, I promised him that he wouldn't be on a vent, so make sure that doesn't happen. I don't want him. I don't know if it ever got saying I don't want him living on a vent, which is what I meant. So I had no way to communicate. So what we were going to do is to communicate. We came up with the alphabet game. My wife's sister Carmela and Gloria decided that's how I could communicate. And what that would be is they'd go through the alphabet, and I could blink my eyes when we stopped on a letter. And that proved to be pretty effective. And I had lots of questions, and they would answer them as best they could. But the funny thing was, my wife had a little problem with patience in this game. And whenever I did a W, which is a lot of questions, she wouldn't let me get the next letter out. So she would immediately yell, who, what, when, where, why? And I would just stare at her, and she called it the idiot look, when I would, sometimes when she would say something less than stellar, I would just look at her like, you're an idiot. And so I pulled that off, and so that was actually a good sign for her, because she knew I was inside there. That was Keith to her. So even though it was insulting, she was happy to hear that. But anyway, so we played that alphabet game because that was really the only way that we could communicate. My son Andy and his fiance, now wife Allison, who live in Novi, just had moved back into Michigan. They were also there at the hospital, so they were able to come in. I had mentioned my wife's two sisters, Carmel and Gloria. They were there, and so they had rules on visitors, but we didn't listen to those. Andy has a younger brother, Matthew, and he was in Seattle doing working for Microsoft, doing an internship, and he was scheduled to come home in about 10 days, but we had to get him home sooner than that. So it took about 3 days, but we finally did get him home. So now the problem with the vent, going back to that, is when we were able to communicate, Sarah and Kamala were saying, just give it 10 days. Give us 10 days on the vent, and then maybe you can come off of it. And I'm telling them, that's fine. I just don't want to live on it. I'll be on a vent for 100 days. I'll be on a vent for a year. I just don't want to have to live on a vent. And I think that got lost. So had I not been able to communicate, they would have pulled the plug on me. I don't know what would have happened. But anyways, that didn't happen. We we exchanged our I love yous and all that through the alphabet game. And that happened so the surgery was, woke up on Monday. Tuesday, they came in and they wanted to try and start taking me off the vent. So what they do is they wean you off the vent slowly. And what they do is they just turn it off and see if you can breathe. They don't want to take that tube out, because once they do that, it's really difficult to re-incubate you or whatever, and that would be a bad result. So the way they would do it is they just shut it off. Let's see how he does. And I did okay. I could breathe on it for 5 or 6 minutes. They keep checking my pulse ox numbers, and then they turn it back on. We did that 3 or 4 times, and so that was all day Tuesday, and then Wednesday the respiratory doctor came in, and I expected him. We were going to wean it, and he says, "Okay, let's get that tube out." And I got 2 different reactions. That's great, let's get this tube out. And then I'm thinking, what if it doesn't work? But where's my optimism there, huh, Big Shot? But so we did that Wednesday morning. Out comes the tube, and I'm breathing. So life changes a lot. Now I'm talking, and I am a smart ass, and Sarah puts up with a lot. But one of the first things a husband should say to her wife after that kind of an accident is, "Oh, I love you. I'm so glad to be alive." But the first thing I said to her is that you suck at the alphabet game. Now, what kind of a thing is that to say to your wife? But there was laughter in the room when I said that, and there hadn't been much laughter. So that was a big deal. So now I'm talking. We're catching up on everything the doctors had told her, and I can only move my shoulders at this time. So that's kind of what the C4 and the C5 does. Everything below that doesn't work. As you can see, though, through all my hard work, I am moving. I can move my legs, and I can do all kinds of tricks, but I'll save that for future videos. But one of the first things that we said, Sarah and I said, we looked at each other and we said, we're going to make this into a positive. And I think that went a long way towards my recovery. I never wallowed in grief. Maybe psychologists would tell you that I should have grieved, but it's never affected me. I was going to get better, and maybe I didn't know. Maybe I was too dumb to know how unlikely that was. But um, we weren't going to let it. We weren't going to let it be a negative. I was going to get through this, and I will continue that story in a future video, and we will talk about that more. So we're just to recap, we're at about day 3 after the accident. I got the ventilation tube out, which was a huge step, and so now I'm able to work on maybe getting my body stretched and things like that. And we'll talk more about my hospital stay in my next video. Thanks a lot. It is the Optimistic Quadriplegic. And subscribe, hit the subscribe button below, and send it out to all your friends. And hopefully I can inspire you to do great things and to climb your mountains. Thank you.